Right. Be Bold, Episode 2. This is going to be kind of the Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, or more properly, should I say, Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight. I'm also going to talk about some other things, and I'm sure I'll get distracted and go all over the place. But please, as always, if you guys are liking these videos, please try to support me on Patreon. Try to share. If you see this, just share it if you like it, of course. But please share all the videos that you see, click like, and those things help a lot. Leave a comment, leave a question below, and anytime you guys leave a question, I'll try to do my best to reply to them. But right now, what I'm going to talk about is Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. So now that this fight is actually happening, it deserves my time. It deserves the attention to be spoken about. Now, I was not super excited about it for lots of reasons because I didn't really think it was going to happen. Number one, and I don't know, it just wasn't a fight that I was interested in. But don't get me wrong, now that I know that it's happening, yeah, I am excited for the fight now that it's there. Um, all right. So on paper, what's everyone saying? Like, of course, Floyd Mayweather on paper looks like he's gonna wipe the floor with Conor McGregor. But what does that mean necessarily? Floyd Mayweather isn't a very he's not a fighter who's known for knocking people out. He's really one of the he's really one of the greatest defensive fighters of our oh Jesus. He's really one of the greatest defensive fighters of our era. So what does that mean? That means is that he's really good at working the Philly shell. He's good at pulling, using pull counters. He's good at using shoulder rolls. You know what I mean? And with the bigger gloves, he's able to tuck, tuck and block a lot of shots right here, and he's able to pull back and get a lot of counters coming in at him that way. But which of course wouldn't really work necessarily in MMA. So yeah, on paper, there's lots of things that you would think would make it very practical that Floyd Mayweather is going to wipe the floor with him. But in an interview at a dialogue between Terrence McKenna and Ralph Abraham, kind of a sidetrack here, at the University of Berkeley in 1987. If you go to the Psychedelic Salon, they have a bunch of old lectures. They weren't called podcasts. They're really just lectures from colleges that they recorded back in the 80s, and now that they're putting them online. If you hear this lecture, they talk about the millennium, and this is right when W when the World Wide Web just came out, www, and everybody was like all big about that. And he's talking about the internet, and they're talking about how one of the big things is that there's this theory that maybe right now we're in this weird time, and that's one thing. In Terrence McKenna, he has this theory called novelty theory, and just to put it basically, is that his idea is that throughout time you can basically make a graph and you can track novelty. What is novelty? Novelty is new things, you know what I mean? So you can track throughout human history, there are periods in which the things are more novel and less novel, but as history is going through, we're ramping up. Things are getting more and more and more novel, and eventually they're going to get to a point where it becomes so novel that we don't know what happens. Basically, everything that can happen will happen. That's kind of his idea, is that it's going to get to this weird point. He's saying this in the 80s. Now, of course, with Donald Trump being the president, with all the things that's happening, it feels like that, right? Doesn't it have this air in the air? It feels like that we're living through a historical time. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels that way, but I feel like that. Like we're living through a time that's different. That one of Ralph Abraham, he had this sentence where essentially he says that potentially, what if we were living through a time where everything you did meant twice as much? Meaning, like when you went to the grocery store, the impact on the universe when you bought some eggs meant twice as much as than when you normally did, or when if you took one path rather than another path this time right now because of the time that we're going through. Imagine if that meant that it's going to have twice as much impact as it normally would if we were going through a period of time in which things weren't ramping up and progressing as they are now. He's talking about this in the 80s. In 2017, I feel like we are so, like, everything is moving so fast, and everybody feels that way with technology, with everything else. It's so hard to imagine what the world's going to look like in 5 years. Whereas you could comfortably, there was a time where you could comfortably guess what the world was going to look like several hundred years in the future. But that's kind of a sidetrack. But what I mean by that is that one thing Luke Thomas says is, yeah, if everything we know about the known universe is correct, if everything we know about the known universe is correct, then Floyd Mayweather should wipe the floor with Conor McGregor, probably not get hit once. Unlikely that he's going to knock the guy out because he doesn't knock anybody out, but he probably won't get hit at all, and he'll look very good, and Conor McGregor probably won't be able to lay a glove on him. But right now is such a weird time, and if there's one thing we've learned about Conor McGregor is he is able to kind of defy the known universe. The way he picked apart Eddie Alvarez, the way he one punch knocked out Jose Aldo, those things shouldn't happen. Really,